Hello, this is Aaron from AaronOnAutos.com, and today we're doing our shaky cam interior review inside a 2019 Nissan Armada. This is the Platinum Edition with four-wheel drive, of course, and it is a massive SUV. If you remember, not too long ago, did a review of the Infiniti QX80. This is very similar to that. The Infiniti is the luxury model of this, in essence. So, very nice car. This SUV, as it sits, is priced at just shy of $68,000. Very well done. There's a lot in this. That's why the price tag. You can get it for much cheaper than that. But really, like I said, the Platinum like this is about as good as it gets. It's the Platinum with the entertainment package. It's pretty much as good as it gets. So let's just get started looking at the interior. Here's the steering wheel, of course. Pretty signature Nissan. So going over here, we start on the driver's door. Here's your windows. They're all automatic down and up on this model. Here's the lock. Over here's the door locks. Over here, this folds the mirrors. So to the left folds them all the way in, to the right folds them all the way out, and sitting in the middle, because it's a toggle, sitting in the middle on this rocker is automatic. So when you lock the doors, they fold, that kind of thing. Up here, this adjusts those side mirrors. This decides which side mirror to adjust. Here you see the door handle and just some of the start of the flow in here. I'll get more into that. Over here's seat memory settings. And then you see the first of the vents, including the defrost up there. I did forget to turn off the climate. I'll do that now. So first of the vents here, and then of course you got email and bacon right there. And then down here is the, what is it, deck, hatch, rear hatch, I think, yeah. The rear hatch release right there. This is an automated hatch. This is steering heat. Here's your parking radars. This, if you push it, turns the, no idea what that does. Down here's your dimmers, and this turns on the power door, so you can run that rear hatch. You can toggle it off with that right there. And then down there's some stuff, dead pedal, hood release, and so on. Looking at the steering wheel, the steering wheel here is pretty straight up Nissan and more or less Infiniti. You don't see a whole lot of difference between the two, other than some slight touches for variation. So over here you have all of your infotainment controls as well as telematics. So here's your phone, voice control, which works pretty well in this. Here's volume. This is a back button. This goes up and down. Excuse me. This goes up and down on your infotainment screen. So this is a select tracks and music. You push up to go to the next track, down to rewind or go back a track. Enter if you're choosing something. Source, that changes the source for the music, and so on. Over here is cruise control stuff. So you see you got the cancel button there, set and accelerate there. This is how you turn it on and off. So you physically have to turn it on every time you start the car. So when you start up this SUV, you have to turn the cruise on. It shuts itself off when you shut off the car. This is following distance for the adaptive cruise, which is relatively aggressive, I'll point out. So even when you have it on the shortest following distance, it still gets pretty aggressive about slowing down early when you're at highway and freeway speeds. And then this is your radars. So this basically does exactly the same thing button over there does, except the button over there turns off the chimes. This turns off, period. So you go through a car wash or something, this is a good idea. Then going to the dongles, up here you have the washer wipers. Twist it here for the rear, up and down for the front. You can see the auto setting right there, and then this is how aggressive that auto setting is. Over on this side, you have lighting. So you can see it's on auto right now. You can see where the selector is, and then you can use that same selector indicator. That's the fog lamps that are on and off. And then you have signal turns up and down and back and forth for the brights. Then looking at the bezel, at the instrument cluster. If I do this, I can just about get the whole thing. I'll have to pan just a little. Over here is your engine heat. Down here's the battery. This is the tachometer. These are all physical, so they don't change. They're not virtual. Over here is your speed, and in the middle is the Canuck miles per hour. Over here is fuel, and down there is oil temperature. Pretty straightforward stuff. Again, all physical indicators. Up here's where most of your like I don't know, driver information and emergency stuff will show up. You can faintly see what some of those are in there, and then you can see I don't have my seatbelt on, so it's having a cow. Down here is the driver information screen for what it is. You control that using these buttons here. So you push these buttons back and forth to go through those menus over there. So you can see how they're changing. Not a lot to show you on those. They're pretty standard, straightforward. You can, on this one, you can go up and down those, and you can change a few things, like what you want to be alerted to, stuff like that. And then you can see MPGs here. So my average has been 18 at an average of 39 miles an hour. I put a lot of freeway time on this yesterday. Other than that, we went fishing with this. We went up in the hills, actually hit a lot of mud puddles doing that, which was totally unplanned, but it was awesome, and I did manage to get some GoPros on it to do it. It was fun. And then I just went up and took some photos around the hills and low mountains where we were. So it was, you know, that's a pretty good indicator of what kind of mileage you would get probably on a more or less every day, because most of the driving has been highway driving, hence the higher average speed. And I did do some around town, but it was the bulk of it was a highway mix. So I would say probably 65 to 70% highway in this. So that's the kind of return you can expect at that. If you do a lot of around town driving, you can expect this number to fall a lot. Over here on this side, you have controls for, here's some dimmers, and then here's the trip resets. So you can use this for both of the trips. You tap it to choose a trip like this. See it down there at the bottom. So now it's on trip B. There's trip A. That's my actual total mileage right there, by the way. Or that's my total mileage right there. That's my mileage after resetting when I did some mileage tests and then a refuel. So yeah, and then you just hold this button to knock those back down to 0. So that's it. Pretty simple. Not a lot going on up there. This is an older design, so it hasn't changed recently, but very well done. And all this stuff gets easy to use. You get really used to it. Over here's a push button. This is the infotainment. So for all intents and purposes, this is going to be the main screen you're going to see. And then you can see you can page through. It does not accept swipes, you just noticed, hopefully. And then you can see some things like average fuel economy for the last I don't remember how many miles it counts. It's less miles than the full trip. And then this is how much range is left on the current fuel. Here's a compass, and that's about it. This is climate, telling you what the climate is doing. So if I turn the climate on, I'll put it on auto, then you can see the climate starts doing some stuff, and then I turn it off. If you have the rear climate on, I don't think it does an indicator. It doesn't look like it. And then you have other things like you have maps and navi. So right here you see some hard buttons. You can use this to control, or it's a touch screen. So you can see what's going on as far as where I am and what's happening. You can also use your camera views. This has 360 cameras, so you can see the 360 there. And then there's the front camera right now. I can change that view and go. You see we're looking at the side, and then we're looking at just the front, and so on. So that's a few things. You can also trying to remember how do you do this, but there is a way to switch it to the back camera. The easiest is to just go to reverse like that. So there you go. That's about what you got for the screen. and then this is the navigation menu. That's more or less all there is to this. There is not a whole lot going on. Here's some of the simple apps that are included, and then you can jump to some info if you want some vehicle info, and that's about what you got for infotainment. It's very simplistic. I will say that if you have Android Auto and or Apple CarPlay, you can plug that in, and I would highly recommend doing that. Down here, climate controls for the sound controls and whatnots for the most part. Over here you have volume, you push it on and off to mute. Over here you have the tuner, and then you can push it to change audio settings, things like that. Here's your seek buttons, scan for radio stations. Fairly old school on this. Here's your preset buttons, and your Dukes lights right in the middle. You have a CD player here. You can do some disc changing and a few things like that. Down here, this is I believe also the Bluetooth player, or the Bluetooth the Blu-ray player for the rear entertainment center is right here, I believe. I don't remember it being anywhere else. Down here you have the climate controls. So you can see they're pretty straightforward. You turn the rear climate on and off using that button. You set your auto here. You can do this to have dual, so it's a dual zone, so now I can have this be a different temperature than that. And or you do that and they sync, and then you turn them off right here, and you have some modes and a few other things. Most of this is pretty straightforward. Defrost right here, and you can decide to blow up only, and then you can just choose modes here. It shows a little mode guy up there, and then you just keep hitting it to get what you want. Over here's the bun warmers and coolers, more for the passenger side. Here's your 12 volt right here. I always have a hard time remembering how to open these things because everybody does them a different way. There you go. You kind of have to push down on this thing and it pops open. Most people are probably just going to close it but not fully close it. That's what I would recommend. Over here's your USBs. These are, as I remember, they're both data USBs. I've used them both, and I recall that they both connected as data. This is your passenger airbag indicator. Right here's a shifter. So pretty straightforward. You go up and down, right? And then when you're down in drive, you can push it over, and then you can go plus and minus. So up for plus, down for minus, to select gears, which is useful for downhill, I will say. Here's your drive modes, as it were. Snow mode right here, tow mode right here. Tow mode also turns off your rear parking sensors, so you don't have the trailer setting it off all the time. Down here is traction control, and then you can see you just rotate the dial to go through the four-wheel drive settings. Auto is the default most of the time, probably 99% of your drive time. This is what you're going to need. Even when I was doing off-road, I only wanted a 4-high for a minute, and that was just to see if it made a difference, and it made very little difference in terms of traction. This four-wheel drive system works very, very well as an all-wheel drive. So it works very well acting like all-wheel drive, putting it in 4 when it needs it. So going into 4-high basically just quickens the response for the automatic mode in terms of getting that traction, because the transmission's always, or the transfer case is always engaged. So it's a matter of preference. Like I said, I didn't do hard off-roading, but I did decent amount of off-roading. I've off-roaded in this before, where I used 4 low, did some hard digging. That was in previous model years, and never had a issue with it. This is a very, very capable off-road vehicle. It has roots in the Nissan Patrol, which is one of the most legendary off-road vehicles ever. So over here, you have the bougie cover for the drink holders. Now you can see this little notch that makes them stick out. That's so a phone fits in there. How beauty is that? So you got both of those, plus you've got this one just to drop some things. You can also put a phone in sideways if it's not too wide. Then you have this cover over this little box, which if your phone is my size, which is a phone with an otter case, it still fits in here sideways. So you got lots of options for where you want to put your phone. And then you can drop keys and other things in there. Here's the center console. You can see Platinum Reserve on there. Open that up, and you're looking at right there. Now this turns the 115 volt outlet plug that's in the back. Turns it on and off, so you can toggle it, turn it on and off. And then it's a fairly deep, pretty decent console. It's not as big as you'd find in, say, a pickup truck, but it's as big as you'll find in any SUV. And then it has a concave top, so you actually gain more room going up and down. Then, let me move my cheat sheet, and let's just look. This is just beautiful upholstery. Look at this oh, this is awesome. Now, some people don't like this, where it's tucked and pleated like that. Some people don't like that. My wife and son are really not fans of that. I like the look because it breaks up what would otherwise just be a plain thing. So I like the way that looks. And you'll see the same thing happens in the QX80. Looking at this seating, this is vented and heated, right? So looking at the seating, you can just see these two different tones, beautiful stitching, really nicely done. And then you can see this sort of boat prow looking dash. So it's like being in a yacht going across with that wood grain, and then just the way it flows down. Really, really pretty. I love this. And then this has the optional rear view, so you can see if the rear view is blocked by something like, say, my camera, my phone, you can just flip over and use the rear the backup camera. It's actually not the backup camera, it's a separate camera. So I'm going to do a feature just on this, using this one and the one in the QX80. Really, really cool and useful for a lot of reasons. So you can see in the back, pretty good cargo area if you don't have the third rows up. I'll show you the full cargo area now. There's the full cargo area. And otherwise, these seats here, these seats fold down and then pop up, so they're leaning against these. And then this will do the same from back there. And then that gives you the full cargo area up to right about this point on this console with these folded forward. Otherwise, you can just fold those down, and then this is flat, but it drops down, you can see a little bit. Cargo is pretty versatile, though. You can do a lot of things in this cargo area. For the most part, people that own something like this, you're probably not using it to haul cargo most of the time, because you have a 5.6 liter V8 and a tow package. You might as well just trailer it. Just get your stuff, put it on a trailer. Very good towing in this. I don't remember the number, but I'll put it down here. The towing is good in this, and it does well with it. I didn't tow this year, but I have towed in the past with this, and it's virtually unchanged for probably 7 or 8 years now. I think it's 5 or 6 years at least. It's basically unchanged in this Armada, and it's just such a nicely done package for all around 4x4 if you need a full SUV. If you don't need a full SUV, you should really look at crossovers instead, because you get, full SUVs, they have a lot of capability, but you lose fuel economy and a lot of interior ergonomics because of that body on frame truck design. I'm probably going to cut a lot of this out because I'm just kind of talking now. I don't need to give you a tutorial on what an SUV is, right? Do I? Probably not. Okay. So that's what I got. This is the 2019 Nissan Armada in the Platinum Edition. And yeah, that's it. So this has been Aaron, AaronOnAutos.com. Talk to you again soon. Subscribe.